Spider-Man! Spider-Man! He's the man with the plan! Make it out!
Okay, wait, I can't go yet. I just finished my Transcendence review, and Spider-Man starts in like 15 minutes, so I gotta do my before Spider-Man before I actually go to see Spider-Man. Let's see. I'm expecting it to be fun. Spider-Man is a little bit more kooky, a little bit more freeform, a little bit more crazier and less serious than Iron Man and Incredible Hulk, so I'm expecting this one to be a little bit less serious, a little bit more comedic than, you know, say Iron Man or Thor. I think they go pretty heavy on the bad guy load. Like, there's like 2 or 3 bad guys, I think, if I remember the trailers correctly. It's been a while since I saw one. I'm just expecting it to be kind of fun. Other than that, I don't have any real expectations going into it. I think I heard, no, I didn't really hear anything much about this movie. Nothing good, nothing bad. I don't think they connect this with the Marvel Cinema Universe, which is the Avengers series, because I think Sony still owns Spider-Man. So, yeah, they don't Marvel doesn't have the full royalties to actually cross those over. I don't think. We'll see. I'm going to go check this out now. It starts in 13 minutes now, so I'll let you know what I think when I come back. Bye. Alright, so, saw the movie last night. Wanted to post a review last night, but I couldn't because of all that crap with the camera dying during the Transcendence review. I had to keep recharging it, and I didn't actually get to the movie until the 11 p.m. showtime, and so I didn't actually get back till really late. I didn't feel like doing the review last night. So, here we are today. And, okay, if you're curious how I thought about it, well, I liked it! I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. It was a good movie. If you like the stuff that I like, go check it out. You will really have a good time. You will enjoy it. If you like the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, you will like this one. This one took that one and like doubled the fun. So, you want to know what I thought about the movie? I liked it. I thought it was good. Check it out. Now, that being said, it's now time for me to do my due diligence as a movie reviewer and actually kind of talk a little bit more in depth about the movie, what I thought was good, what I thought was bad, and kind of talk about the way that this movie is kind of a little bit polarizing to the fans and on the internet. And polarizing might be too strong of a word, but there's a divide of people who like this movie or don't like this movie and love the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And there's kind of, like, I don't know if it's because they're biased towards the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, but, you know, it seems like people are kind of, they're a little weary of the Amazing Spider-Man. Like, they don't want to admit they like it because a lot of people say they like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. And you know what? I'll talk about that right now. I was going to do it later, but you know what? This is actually a good point. I'm in the school who likes the Amazing Spider-Man. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies I thought were good for their time. What do I mean by that? Well, in 2002, when the first Spider-Man movie came out, it didn't have a whole lot of competition, or at least good competition. What superhero movies were out at that time? The 4 Batman movies from the 80s and the 90s, the 4 Superman movies, Blade, and X-Men. And that was it. So when you compare the first Spider-Man movie to what was out, you know, X-Men was really good. Blade was, it was dark enough that Marvel didn't, you know, it was a Marvel hero, but that Marvel wasn't like stamping their, you know, their big red thing at the beginning of the movie. They were like, this guy's dark, he murders people, it's a rated R movie, let's not, you know, let's keep it on the DL. Like, we'll take the royalty monies, but we're not going to broadcast that he's a Marvel guy. We want people to think that we're a little bit nicer than him. So, back then, and I loved it back in the day. That being said, I actually watched the first 2 on TV recently. And I gotta say, I was like, I actually kind of cringed while watching it. I was like, oh god, I thought this was good. Not to say that they're terrible movies. They're good for what they are. they are a bit campy, and I don't think you can do a Spider-Man anything, movie, cartoon, Broadway musical, without it being campy. I mean, that's kind of one of the characteristics of Spider-Man. I mean, he cracks jokes to his villains. He jumps around, he web slings, he basically dances and insults people in a comedic way to their face, and just pisses them off. He trolls his bad guys, which kind of leads to him getting his ass kicked. And so you can't do Spider-Man without it being a little campy on one level or another. Now, here's the thing about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, is that when you break it down, all three of those movies are the exact same movie. It's a story about Peter Parker, who kind of does this thing on the side as, in red and blue spandex. But it's all about, it's not a Spider-Man movie, it's a Peter Parker movie, and he does Spider-Man on the side. Like, I think in the first Spider-Man movie, it's 2 hours long. I think Spider-Man's on screen for maybe 15 minutes, maybe 17. In Spider-Man 3, there's that whole sequence where, at the beginning, where Peter is fighting Harry on his horizontal board as Peter Parker. I mean, it's a Spider-Man fight as Peter Parker, and they do I think it's a disservice to the character of Spider-Man that they focus so much on Peter Parker. Now, you can say, well, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but no. All those three movies is just Peter trying to get the girl. He's just trying to get MJ in all three of those movies. Text message. And that's all, and, Spider-Man's kind of a background thing. In fact, we focus more on Peter Parker and then the villains than we do on actually Spider-Man. Spider-Man, again, he just kind of pops up, does his thing, and leaves. Like in Spider-Man 2. All he does is, there's this whole story around Peter trying to win Mary Jane, but on the side of that, there's also Doc Ock. Octavius, he's trying to build this generator, that creates all this electricity and power, free clean power for mankind. And then, there's that whole thing where he's losing his mind because the arms are taking over. And, he's just trying to realize his dream. Like, he's not really an evil guy. He's just kind of losing focus a little bit. And, but, like Peter, when he's on his way to see Mary Jane's play, there's like a 30-second scene where he's chasing a guy in a convertible who stole something, and he catches them, and boom, we're done with Spider-Man. It's almost like at that point in the movie, the screenwriters were like, we haven't actually seen Spider-Man on screen in a while. We need to throw him in there. Okay, we'll put him in for 10 seconds here, and then we'll get back to Peter just struggling in his daily life and struggling to win Mary Jane's heart and struggling at school, and Octavius with his, he lost his wife and now he's got these robot arms, and now all he wants to do is create a generator. All he wants to do is create a generator. Dude just doesn't have enough money, and the arms are talking to him. It's weird. So I'm focusing too much on the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Bottom line is those movies aren't about Spider-Man. They're about a guy trying to win a girl's heart, and there's bad guys, and he has to kind of deal with them. I'll do that, but I'm not going to focus on that. We're focused just on Peter and Mary Jane. With The Amazing Spider-Man, and I think this is one of the bigger complaints, is that there's a lot that happens in those movies. I'm not kidding. There is so much that happens in The Amazing Spider-Man, and so much that happens in Amazing Spider-Man 2. This movie is so fast-paced. I don't think there's a scene that lasts for more than 3 minutes, because we're just constantly moving along. And I think, again, that's another thing that people don't like. It's so fast-paced that they feel like we're being rushed. And I agree with that. However, I also think they do a good job of actually moving the story along. Because now this might just be me. I might be reading too much into this, or I might be seeing shapes where I'm really just seeing shadows. But I feel that there's like an overarching story, like Spider-Man 1, while technically a standalone, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of setup in that movie. I mean, we talk about Peter's dad in that movie quickly, and like it's over, like we're done talking with him in a second, but like it's set up and there's questions. You're like, ooh, what did Peter's dad do? Why did he have to leave his parents? Why did he have to leave his kid with his brother? Why did they disappear? Why is he basically called a traitor? Why does he have all this secret stuff in his bag? You know, there's these questions, and not all of them get answered, which that usually annoys me in a movie. And it did in the first Spider-Man. Like, they kind of put all these question marks in that movie, but they didn't go anywhere. They did in this movie. So this movie is setting stuff up. So the first one sets stuff up for the second movie, and I thought that at the time. I'm like, huh. I think, like, they're really sequel baiting this one. Like, they're really expecting this first one to do good, because they're going to put all this other stuff in the second one. And they set stuff up. Oh my God, did they set up stuff for the third one and this one? Would it be spoilers? I'm trying to stay away from spoilers. There's a scene at the end. It's basically the second to last. It's basically the second to last scene that happens at Oscorp, where, you know what? I'm not spoiling anything. There is a top secret lab, and in it you have Doc Ock's arms. You have the Rhino suit. I think you have the Scorpion suit, and I don't know. I think there's rumors that somewhere in there, like, you see something implying that Venom, you know, the character of Venom can be created in this lab. So there is a lot of stuff that they're setting up. Like, the third movie is going to be pretty big, and if they go out as far as 5 or 6 movies, like, there's this huge overarching story, this shadowy figure. So and they set up so many bad guys in this movie. They set up the Green Goblin, the Rhino, like I said, all those other ones. The main bad guy in this movie is Electro, played by Jamie Foxx. And that character, it was another one that we kind of rushed along with. Like, we introduce him, we learn, but they do it really well. They introduced him, and I was like, oh, is this how we're going to introduce him? And he's just going to become a bad guy. But the little time that we spend with this guy, we actually learn he's kind of a nerd. He is a nerd. He doesn't have any friends. People take him for granted. He has a great scientific mind. He understands power grids. Stop that. In fact, he created the power grid that runs New York. And he's now angry because Oscorp took his patent, and took it without asking. He wasn't paid the patent, and they used it. So he has bitterness towards Oscorp. Like, there's a reason why he's attacking Oscorp. It makes sense. There's a reason why he hates Spider-Man. They actually set all of this up in this movie really quickly. What else? The character of Harry, who wasn't in the first one, is now introduced in this one. And again, they do it really fast. But they do it. I thought they did a really good job of explaining it. Harry, why didn't we see him in the first one? Why was there no mention of him? Why? Because his dad is one of those a-hole dads who just sends him off to boarding school. He's been in Europe. He's been in Asia. He's just been all over the world at different places, and that's why we haven't seen him. And Norman Osborn is dying in this movie. He dies, and that's why his son is back in town, because he basically called him home just to, I don't know, bitch at him, or like tell him, well, you're a failure. You know, for some reason, all evil dads do that. They call their kids back just to call them failures to their face, despite whatever they've accomplished. And so, Harry, you know what? I'm not no, this isn't a spoiler either. Harry becomes the Green Goblin, if you didn't already know, in this movie. And they explain a lot about, like, Harry, he's angry and he's bitter. Why? Because his dad never loved him. Hold on. Okay. That's done. Where was I? Harry. And so, his dad tells him, you've got the same genetic disease as I do, and you're going to die someday. So, Harry, why is Harry angry? Why is he depressed? It all makes sense. It's, again, it's very fast-tracked, and, like, we don't spend a ton of time with these guys, but I thought it was well-written enough that they actually explained, like, in dialogue, not really exposition, but in dialogue, they really kind of hit these points, and, like, you understand why he's angry, why he hates Spider-Man, because, the spiders that Peter's dad made in the first movie, they were like super spiders, and they had like healing properties, and Harry thinks that if I can get those spiders, I can be healed from this virus. Oh, they're all dead? Oh, wait. I know that Spider-Man was created by one of those. That, I don't know how he knew that. Huh. There's a plot hole for you right there. But he makes that leap in logic, and so when Spider-Man refuses to give him his blood, You know, that's why he hates Spider-Man. Like, why all these villains hate Spider-Man? It makes sense. I thought it was really well written in that regard. Like, things make sense in this movie as far as characters and, you know, their motives and why they're doing things that they're doing. They actually go back and talk about Peter's dad. In fact, that's how the movie opens up. We figure out what happened right after Peter's parents dropped him off at his uncle's house. Alright, kind of went on there for a minute. But going back to why I think people didn't like this movie is the two main reasons are I think they liked the Tobey Maguire one better than this one. I actually liked, like I said before, those were movies about Peter Parker, not Spider-Man. He played the character of Spider-Man played second fiddle in his own movie. And all three of those movies are the exact same movie for the most part. And the dialogue is pretty cheesy. Like, go back and watch the scene in the first Spider-Man movie when they're seeing the electron microscope where Peter gets bit by the spider. And the dialogue between Peter and Harry and MJ, and Peter and MJ is just so cheesy and campy. And most of that movie is just like, it's pretty cheesy. Like, that's grade A Italian mozzarella cheesy right there. So, but a lot of people like that movie, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. Like I always say, you can like whatever movie you want. There's nothing wrong with liking those movies. Like I said, they're not bad movies. They're cheesy and campy, but, you know, that's Spider-Man for you. This is cheesy and campy on a different level. On that note, this movie, it doesn't get more cheesy, I don't think, than the beginning chasing. The movie opens up with the character who will eventually become the Rhino. He's stolen an armored truck with uranium or plutonium, something radioactive, inside. And he's being chased by literally every cop car in New York. I kid you not, there are 200 cop cars following this guy. It's like, is this showing my age? This is showing my age, but I don't care. It's like the ending scene, it's like the ending of the Blues Brothers. It's just like that. Just 200 cop cars just following him, which is ridiculous. It goes from ridiculous to retarded to idiotic. Like, a lot of people, I think, when you point and look at that Amazing Spider-Man 2, like, that was crap. Like, you gotta point to that scene, like, that was hilariously bad. And I think that's where a lot of people say, like, this movie is so bad that it's good, or it's so good that it's bad. I don't know where most people stand. Again, I'm not backpedaling. I'm saying I liked it. I enjoyed it. I thought scenes like that kind of stayed with the whole comic book thing and on the level of Spider-Man, because, and I keep saying on the level of Spider-Man, but, like, think of the other Marvel hero movies. Punisher, Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Iron Man, Blade, X-Men. Those have a very serious tone to them. Usually it's a life and death tone to them. Not saying Spider-Man doesn't deal with life and death, but the way that he reacts and acts around his villains, you know, it's very lighthearted. The overall story is very lighthearted, and there's a belief that everything is going to be good, which it actually gets a little dark at the end of this movie. Another thing altogether. But, yeah, I kind of rolled with it. And I don't know if people are surprised about that, because I point at everything in the movie and be like, that's crap, that's BS, that is a load of horse ass. I mean, you know, little things, annoying people, things like, oh, dude, you're getting bogged down in the minutia. This is one of those where I'm like, you know what? It kind of goes with the story. There wasn't anything ridiculous that even for a comic book movie, there's a lot that you can roll with in a comic book movie. There's a lot that you can roll with in a sci-fi movie. There's things that defy common sense. That doesn't matter the genre or what movie or the material. Just common sense wise, you're like, oh, come on, that's stupid. No one would do that. No one would think that. Good example, Dark Knight, where the Joker drops Batman's love interest, Rachel, and he jumps after her, grabs her, and falls like, what, 20 stories onto the top of like a cab, and he's fine, and so is she. Like, you go like, oh, come on! You stand up in the theater, you're like, that, and you point at the screen and say, F you, that's bull crap. That's, I can, and Captain America 2, I can kind of point that at, my scene like that in Captain America 2 is where he jumps out of the shield building and then like lands on his shield, and you're like, my first reaction was like, oh, come on, but I stopped. I was like, he is a super soldier with super steroids. I'll roll with this. And at least he had the decency to kind of limp away. He didn't jump up and like run away. He's like, that sucked. But there wasn't anything like that in this movie. I guess you can argue when Spider-Man is holding a car over his head or like stopping a bus. But come on, he stopped a train in the second Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. So I rolled with a lot of this stuff. I rolled my eyes, but bottom line is I did roll with the scene. There's a scene where where Spider-Man is creating a conduit, like the power cable over here, and he creates a conduit with his webbing, which I was like, I rolled my eyes like, oh, come on, and that was stupid. That his webbing didn't catch fire, that it actually conducted electricity as good as a copper wire. So that was kind of BS, but ultimately I rolled with it. I was like, alright, I see what you're doing. You gotta move the story forward. It's bullcrap, and it's stupid. Ugh. No, it was that part was stupid. The chase scene at the beginning was over the top. And so, I think that's where a lot of people don't like this movie. There are deal breaker scenes in the movie, and those are kind of the big two, I think, where, again, the webbing that conducts electricity and doesn't just burst into flame. A lot of people, I think, that breaks the deal. Like you roll with a lot of stuff, and I'm the same way, and I think everyone is, where you'll watch a movie and you'll kind of be like, oh, come on. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you're like, alright, fine, we'll go with that. But there is a breaking point. There's a straw that breaks your back, and you're like, nope, F it, I went with everything, but that's it, I'm done. This movie is stupid. And I think that's where a lot of people are coming from. They see the chase scene at the beginning, they see the webbing scene at the towards the end, and I think that's where people kind of fall off the map. That's when they walk away, and they're like, nope, stupid. I mean, I can go into the other Spider-Man movies, like Spider-Man 3 when Tobey Maguire is doing a Saturday Night Fever strut down the street, or basically that entire scene in the jazz club where he's like snapping and dancing, and that was one of my deal breakers in that movie. Let's see, what else can I talk about Spider-Man? Amazing Spider-Man 2. I hope you guys don't get the impression that I'm backpedaling on this movie. I still liked it. I'm just doing my job as a reviewer. I gotta point out stuff that is stupid. I gotta point out what's good. I gotta point out what's bad. Bottom line, I guess, and there's a lot of things to say, is that I understand why people don't like it. I understand why people might not agree with me with saying that it was a good movie. But that's the thing. It's a good movie it's between good and okay. I never said it was a great movie. I said I enjoyed it. I said it was entertaining. I said I thought it was fun. And I do. I believe all those things. It doesn't have to be a great movie for me to like it. If you haven't already realized that. I can... getting off topic. At this point, I'm just rambling. Is there anything worthwhile about the review I can actually add at this point? Because at this point, I'm just rambling, and my pizza's getting cold. You know what? Maybe that's it. If I think of anything else, I'll add it in the comment section below. But to kind of circle back and wrap everything else, I like this movie more than I liked the first one. I like, again, how there was no lull, and they focused on Spider-Man. Oh, I know what I can focus on. I know what I can mention. One of the things that I don't know if... Again, I'm not going to say I'm a huge reader of the comics. I've never claimed that. I claim that I have understanding and knowledge of Spider-Man because of the internet and because of Borders bookstores. And I don't know if Peter does this. He becomes a detective, basically. You know, he's trying to learn about his dad. He's trying to discover his dad's past and connect all these dots and figure out what was my dad doing? How was he connected with Oscorp? How was he connected with the spiders? What was the research? And he actually works back, following clues, connecting dots, and he discovers things about his past and about his dad. And so, again, I don't know if he does that in the comics. Maybe he does in like 1 or 2. But he did that a little in the first one, too. He kind of played the part of the detective and tried to figure things out and like snoop around and follow leads, and he was trying to find answers. I thought they did a pretty good job of that, too. There were, I think, a few leaps in logic and a few things that were a little contrived, but I think they all worked. Like, the thing with the calculator, and I'm not really spoiling anything, but I'm not going to mention what it is. I think that a lot of people would have found out the thing with the calculator, because when you're as frustrated as he was at that point, and you would throw things around, I think you'd figure out the thing with the calculator just like he did. It was just kind of like, an aha eureka moment. So I liked how I liked the pace of this movie. They put a lot into this movie, and I think that's another thing people didn't like, is that I think people thought they were getting overpowered and just like pounded with all this information and all this stuff, and so much happened in this movie that you forget a lot of it, and you can't keep up with it. So I understand that. It actually is good that I slept on this, because if I did a review right off the bat, I'm glad I let it simmer, because I have a clearer idea and a clearer thought of this movie because of that. That's kind of it. I liked the movie. I thought it was pretty good. There were deal breaker moments that, for once, I was able to kind of roll with. I was like, you know what? There's a lot in this movie. So those 1 or 2 scenes didn't break it for me. I rolled with it. It's not something I generally do. Granted, I think superhero movies might have the unfair advantage. I like superhero movies, so things like Dark Knight Rises, that movie is just wrought with plot holes, and just, that would be so easy to do it. I heard that movie sucks, and just destroy that movie. Where am I going with this? God! Alright, I'm done talking. I'm done talking about Amazing Spider-Man. There's a lot in it. I liked it. I can see why people didn't like it. If you didn't like it, that's cool. If you did like it, that's cool. I'm not a big fan of the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. That doesn't mean that I think you're an idiot for liking them. So, as always, at the end of each and every one of my reviews, this comes out to no hard feelings. If you liked it, that's cool. If you didn't like it, that's cool too. I liked it. You don't have to hate me for my opinion. That being said, when I get home, Memorial Day weekend, after I go see Spider-Man 2 again, I am going to see Godzilla. I am going to see X-Men Days of Future Past. I think somebody did ask me, am I going to see the Godzilla movie? Yes! I grew up on that stuff. I was watching Godzilla vs. King Kong when I was in 1st grade. My dad showed me that stuff. I ate that stuff up. I love that stuff. So, my thoughts going into that, well, I'll tell you those thoughts when right before going to see that movie. But to answer your question, yeah, I am going to go see that movie. So, enough babbling, enough talking about that. I hope you guys are doing good. I'll talk to you guys. I'll see you guys soon. A new episode of Life with Ponies will be up later this week. Laters.